Welcome, dear friends, to Tea Time with the Chaps, where our pastime is reading and our tea is brewed from none other than the leaves of TTRPG Reddit. I am the Chap, and sitting next to me is the wife of Chap.
I am wife of Chap.
Splendid. Now then, today's theme is all about the very finest in gatekeeping. After all, if a chap is having fun, clearly the game is being played entirely wrong. Before we begin, allow me to explain a few changes we've made to this revived series.
Firstly, this show is purely for entertainment. In the past, after each story, we'd try to offer thoughtful advice on whatever problem had appeared. You may still hear some genuine advice from time to time, but much of what we say will be lighthearted, filled with jokes, jests, and chuckles. Please do keep in mind that we are here mainly to entertain, not to be taken seriously.
Secondly, the stories you'll hear have been rewritten in our own style of speech, though we've done our best to keep them faithful to the originals.
And lastly, we've decided to retire the old plushie segment. Instead, we will be sharing a bit about our mugs and what's inside them. So then, Sir Chap,
Yes.
do tell, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking fruit punch from a red dragon chalice. Why, you may ask? Well, it's because I went grocery shopping yesterday and I absolutely couponed the living, flabbergasting daylights out of my grocery shopping. I feel like a red dragon on a mound of gold with the money I saved. Couponing, try it if you haven't. If you have, keep doing it. It's fantastic. What about you?
Well, good chap, I am drinking from the one and only mug from Disneyland. I am drinking a good amount of anxiety and a lot of self-conscious behaviors.
Oh dear, are
Let me
you
do that
okay?
again.
Are you okay? Did I do something wrong?
No, that's just what I'm drinking.
Oh, well then.
My dear chap, you're missing out.
Yeah,
You should try
all
some.
right, chap, enough babbling. Let's get on to the first tea spilling, shall we?
Our first story. Don't care to choose alignment? DM flips out. So then, one must observe that 5th edition rather doesn't give a fig about alignment. I mean, yes, there's a neat little blank space on one's character sheet, but it scarcely serves any purpose. Call me eccentric, but I personally don't think it matters in the slightest. Well, I most assuredly encountered a dungeon master who, in fact, cared very much indeed. The cast, myself, the dungeon master, and one other chap. This was an online affair hastily assembled over Roll20. The DM was seeking players for a steampunky sort of campaign with airships and all manner of clockwork contraptions. I thought, splendid! That sounds marvelous, and duly signed up. During session 0, the DM discussed the customary campaign matters, scheduling, world details, etc., etc., etc. He made the point of saying that absolutely no one was allowed to indulge in anything untoward, especially of the revolting, inappropriate type of behaviors that are out there. Yes.
Yes.
He further explained that one could design and build airships, even select their elements. Quite exciting. We were told to produce characters and review them with him before session 1. Jolly good, I thought. Jolly good.
Jolly good.
Jolly good.
Jolly good.
I fashioned a leaderly Captain Esquire character. From the looks of things, the other players were not inclined to take charge, and I feared the plot might stall without a firm hand at the wheel. Thus, I created a stalwart hero, one who cares for his companions and strives to do what's right. I scheduled a meeting with the DM to discuss my character and tie him more closely into the world. We were happily chatting away about possible factions when suddenly he fell silent.
Oh dear.
Me. Hello. You there?
Hello.
DM. Me. Hello. You there? DM. Yes. I just noticed you didn't feel in alignment. Me. Yes. I usually don't bother with that. I already know who my character is. DM pauses for what felt like a full minute. One could practically hear the gears grinding in his mind, trying to fathom how on earth I could possibly not bother. DM. Right. But it's on the character sheet. Yes, but surely it's only broad strokes. I've already established who my fellow is. Why? Is it going to matter? DM. Well, what follows was a tedious circular discussion. He insisted I fill in an alignment. yet refused to state whether it was actually important. I told him I truly didn't care and that he could assign whatever he liked. He grew defensive, as though I had slighted his honor, claiming I ought to put more thought into my character. This after telling me I had provided more detail than the other players combined.
Oh dear.
I explained that the alignment grid is infamously vague. 100 people will give 100 different interpretations, and that all it achieves is confusion when someone later declares, "But you're lawful good. You can't do that." The only time alignment ever slightly matters in 5e is in relation to a tiny handful of magical items in the DMG. So I told him plainly, "You pick, and I'll go along with it." By this point, his obstinacy had quite worn me down. Honestly, he could have scribbled lawful good himself and been done with it. But I sensed if I said lawful good aloud, he would instantly consign me to the lawful stupid paladin box. So fine. He said he'd give it some thought, and otherwise all was well for Season 1. Some faint warning bells tinkled in my head, but I ignored them. Airships awaited, after all. Session 1 arrived. We did the usual introductions, tavern chatter, and camaraderie, splendid fun. Our first task, pilot a ramshackle airship on delivery. Naturally, we were attacked by bandits. We triumphed, of course, and among their loot, a special sword, usable only by certain alignments. The DM declared it is usable only by the good. None of the others wielded swords, so plainly it was for me. I went to claim it. DM, you can't pick it up. Me, put on. Why not? DM, because you don't have a good alignment. At this point, the others audibly gasped. As though the DM had just proclaimed me some infernal kitten-stomping villain.
Oh, no.
Me, but my chap is good. You're merely punishing me because I left a box blank. DM, those are the rules. The other chap then piped up indignantly, aghast, that one could not have an alignment, as though I had confessed to pilfering parcels off doorsteps. Utter nonsense. I took a deep breath and tried to press on. Very well, what if I were lawful good? Would that satisfy you? We discussed at length what he thought lawful good meant versus what I meant. I finally relented and wrote LG simply to move things along, but no! He persisted, demanding I specify what kind of lawful good I was. I made the mistake of comparing my fellow to Brandon Fraser's character in The Mimmy, at which point the DM launched into a dreary lecture about how Fraser was definitely chaotic good. Cue half an hour of turgid debate between DM and other chap about alignment theory, lawful versus chaotic, good versus evil, and on until I wanted to scream! At last, I simply marked LG on my sheet. The DM, however, warned that if I ever behaved chaotic good, I'd have to change it. Me, splendid. And what precisely will that affect? DM, don't know. At which point, I very nearly expired from sheer frustration. I faked an urgent call and exited. The DM later messaged me as if nothing were amiss, asking if I'd attend session 2. I told him quite firmly, no thank you. Later I spoke to the other players. Apparently the campaign dragged on a few more sessions, lengthy, tedious affairs, and not one point whatsoever did alignment matter. What did we learn?
Well, I have a couple things I would like to discuss.
Yes.
Firstly, during their tedious circular discussion, this entire event, nay, this entire post, might have been avoided if the player wasn't so headstrong about not having an alignment. He could have simply said, okay, he's lawful good, and vice versa to the DM about caring much about an alignment. Now, 2, this is the DM's game. If you are playing and he's wanting alignments for characters, make an alignment. Also, the DM shouldn't punish players mid-game in front of the entire party like that.
I don't know, it sounded like a little bit of petty revenge to me.
It did sound like petty revenge. You never want to petty revenge in public.
No, never do it in public. That's inappropriate.
If you decide to petty revenge, please do it in a safe area where the two people are comfortable being petty revenged on. And given, I dare say.
With consent.
With consent. And lastly...
I did have a cousin once named George who changed his alignments 4 times in one session.
4 times in one session?
One session. Heaven forbid it was if it turned into a campaign, because then they would have said, by George, that is crazy.
No, wait. I thought you said it was 4 times, not 2 times. You just said by George. What happened to the other 2 Georges? There's by George. Is there a straight George and a gay George as well?
Oh my dear chap. I believe I need to go check my facts and call my cousin George.
Which cousin?
By George. Spill the next tea, please.
I would gladly spill the next tea, my fellow chap. Oh, did you call George and found out that there's 2 other Georges?
I couldn't do it with a straight face.
Neither could by George. The next tea spilling is proficiency in gaslighting, or how a player tried to turn the party against me because of scheduling issues.
Those schedules.
This tale unfolds over the course of 2 Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, with particular emphasis on the second, which is when I joined. The principal figure of interest, aside from myself, is a rather problematic player we shall refer to as Janet. So, without further ado, let us discuss gaslighting, perhaps some gatekeeping, but certainly not any semblance of girl bossing.
Not at all.
Not
There is
at
no
all.
such thing as girl bossing.
No such thing as girls. I had been rather keen to join these campaigns for some time, as all participants were close acquaintances. Initially, I was declined as the party was already full capacity. But 6 months later, the Dungeon Master mentioned that one player who was meant to rejoin for Campaign 2 had not followed through. I inquired again, and the DM received universal approval from the party for me to join. During our conversation, I did mention that I would be unable to attend one of the 2 usual play days due to life obligations. But I was quite content with not partaking in every session. I bring this up because it apparently dredged up an old argument within the group. Sometime prior, the Barbarian experienced an unexpected change in their work schedule, and the group struggled to find a day to play because Janet had hobby activities scheduled literally every day except the usual play day. Janet refused to adjust her schedule in the slightest, insisting that the rest of the group must compromise. One can truly sense the irony, can't one? Some members of the group expressed that they were comfortable with not participating in every session, which prompted Janet to send a 3-page notepad rant declaring that she felt as if she was the only one who cared about everyone being included, and repeatedly emphasized how important the group was to her. The initial suggestion was to have 2 campaigns run concurrently, depending on who could attend, was understandably dismissed as an utterly ludicrous solution to a simple scheduling matter. Despite this, I was excited to be a part of the campaign, so you can imagine my bewilderment when the rogue informed me that she was annoyed that I had been pressuring the DM to permit my participation. Let me emphasize that there was a 6-month interval between my 2 requests. Apparently, Janet had been expressing to the rogue her concern that I was pressuring the DM and that she was really feeling emotions. I remain utterly mystified as to the meaning of this. Janet even convinced a group call with herself, the rogue, the monk, and the DM to resolve the matter. The DM promptly terminated the call, affirming that I had committed no wrongdoing. Yet Janet was far from finished, continually bringing up grievances regarding my inclusion. One of Janet's purported concerns was an incident from a previous campaign in which a random player had behaved rather creepily towards her. She conveyed this to the DM, implying that my joining was somehow triggering her trauma. I am not in a position to contest the greatness of Janet's account. However, it struck me as peculiar, as I am no means a stranger to her, having known her for 3 years and even participated in one of her prior campaigns. Moreover, the Ranger joined in the same manner as I did during Campaign 2, yet Janet welcomed them without issue. Eventually, Some of us deduced that Janet's fervent opposition to players missing sessions stemmed from a desire to prevent the precedent that it was acceptable to play without a full party. As I had clearly stated from the outset that I was amenable to missing sessions occasionally, Janet attempted to obstruct my inclusion by falsely claiming to friends that I had been pressuring the DM, effectively attempting to gaslight me into believing I had erred simply by requesting to join. In essence, this entire fiasco arose because Janet could not tolerate the occasional absence of party members. Now, the confrontation, my dear chap. Upon recognizing Janet's behavior, several players and I organized a group discussion, as the situation had become so detrimental that we were all contemplating withdrawing. We consulted with the DM and agreed to approach the matter with maturity and refrain from childish antics.
Quite.
When the moment arrived, we clearly articulated that we wished to preserve friendships, but certain issues required resolution. Janet deflected all points raised and attributed every difficulty to university stress and other vague external factors. She once again attempted to guilt-trip the group, emphasizing how crucial the campaign was for her mental well-being. To which the wizard astutely remarked that if it were indeed so vital, she would benefit from therapy rather than D&D. We further highlighted the unfairness of treating the campaign and fellow players as therapists. During the discussion, I expressed how these events had made me feel unwelcome and that I had considered withdrawing before even participating in a session. Janet, of course, entirely disregarded my feelings and instead spoke at length about her long-standing struggles with mental health, now claiming that her safe space was being breached. Whether she was referring to me, I cannot say, for she logged off immediately afterwards, denying us the opportunity to respond. The confrontation concluded with the DM placing the campaign on indefinite hold to preserve friendships. The end? ? No. This tale concludes on a somewhat cheerful note. I am now part of a splendid campaign alongside delightful players, and the preceding events have provided ample in-jokes for our sessions. However, Janet continues to guilt-trip the rogue for participating in a campaign while she remains excluded. Janet remains blissfully unaware of why the previous campaign ended, attributing it merely to her supposed misfortune in D&D groups. The moral, if one may extract it, is that if every tabletop role-playing group you join collapses for reasons beyond your comprehension, it may well be prudent to consider whether you are, in fact, the source of the issue.
Here, my good chap. So, my dear chap, what did we learn?
Well, I learned a couple things from that story. Number one, how does one truly feel emotions? Also, were they good or bad feelings? Honestly, Janet might have just had what you say, a crush on OP. From what toddler playdates have taught me is if a boy likes a girl, throw things at her. If a girl likes a boy, throw insults at him. Now, the second thing that I thought of is if D&D was Janet's safe space and university stress was getting to her, well, the simple answer is to drop out of university, and then you will have no stress and more time for D&D.
Absolutely, my good chap, because you know D&D is life.
D&D is life.
D&D is life.
I would like to give a golf clap to Wizard for multiclassing into a bard and delivering the most brutal vicious mockery line. She would benefit from therapy rather than D&D.
Yes, I believe we should stop and give a golf clap.
Yes. But if she goes to therapy, does that mean she doesn't have a life because she stopped playing D&D?
No, because the therapy she ends up going to is still D&D and they don't know it.
Oh my gosh! You're brilliant!
Yes.
Get kicked out of one and go to a different campaign and use them as free therapy. I love it.
Absolutely right.
All right, chap. On to the next tea spilling, please.
Overzealous player manhandles my character sheet. A rather minor tale compared to the grand sagas one often hears about, but nevertheless, one that has remained lodged in my memory. Many years ago, I found myself partaking in a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition one-shot at a local game shop. It was, in fact, my very first exposure to 5e.
Really?
Yes. I announced to the group that I was new to the edition, and most of the table responded with warmth and encouragement, save for one gentleman. He took it upon himself to declare that he was thoroughly knowledgeable in all editions of D&D, except for 4th. We don't talk about 4th.
No, we don't talk about 4th.
Having played and run games for decades, truth be told, I was initially relieved, thinking he might serve as a kindly guide and offer the occasional helpful pointer. Alas, nay. The moment he requested to see my character sheet, things looked a rather dire turn. "Oh!" he exclaimed, with a sort of sulky pomp. "This is all frightfully wrong." Producing a pen with an eagerness of a schoolmaster about to mark an essay, he proceeded to dissect my every preparation.
No.
I had, you see, used D&D Beyond, not a sponsor, to build the character sheet, and while I may have made a few mistakes, I hardly thought they were warranted such a performance. Yet there he was. "Why on earth would you do this? You simply can't have that. Good heavens! What were you thinking?" I couldn't even see the particulars of what he was scribbling, only that my once tidy sheet was being utterly ravaged before my eyes. His companion attempted to restrain him with a gentle hand on the arm and muttered, "Be nice." Little effect. When, at last, my sheet was returned to me, it resembled a freshman English term paper that had endured the wrath of a particularly unforgiving professor. As an English major myself, I assure you, I still see red whenever I, see red.
Oh my goodness.
Still, I managed a polite thank you, despite feeling quite nonplussed by the ordeal. To the surprise of no one, he then spent the entire session challenging every rule the dungeon master made, and the coup de grace, bless me, arrived at the conclusion.
Bless you.
Thank you. Of the conclusion of the game, when he announced, "I should have that treasure!" This despite there being some 5 or 6 players present. One must remember, of course, that this was merely a one-shot, so even if the loot had been the proverbial balls of Vecna, it hardly mattered who walked away with what. I want to walk away with the balls of Vecna.
Me too.
Yes. After the game, Mr. Editor revealed he would soon be departing our little hick town. His words, not mine. And never returning to our friendly local shop. Nevertheless, needless to say, I did not shed a single tear over the pronouncement. Postscript, it's been too many years to recall precisely what edits he made, but I distinctly remember some included writing my main ability scores in the modifier bubbles, and vice versa. Another, I believe, was my desire to dual-wield hand axes, entirely for flavor, mind you, rather than optimization, which he declared improper for a first-level barbarian. Yet another was that I apparently began with too much money. 50 gold pieces, I think, and thus could not possibly afford my chosen kit. Loincloth, shoes, 2 hand axes, rations, rope, and a few other bits and bobs. I didn't know loincloths were so expensive.
Never.
I freely admit I made a mistake, but his gatekeeping towards a brand new player struck me as positively asinine. Now, my dear chap, what have we learned?
I learned a few things from that one.
Yes, good chap.
Firstly, when Mr. Editor said this was all frightfully wrong, he was actually saying that it was wrong to how he played and not how the OP played. Everyone plays differently, and everyone fills out their character sheet differently. For my second one, I unfortunately will have to side with Mr. Editor on this one. The sport showed an extraordinary amount of dominance, which was his right to do so. And the OP is an English major. Simply cannot support those folks in my life for always correcting my grammar and speech, even though I have learning and speech disabilities.
I'm related to one, and good friends with more.
Fun fact, when we played a game with your English major sister, it was a spelling one, and I was told to name something, and I named something, or spelt something. I don't know what it was, but I was told to name something, and I named something, and they said, no, that's not a name, that's a noun. And I went, but it's the name of the noun. They're like, no, you gotta say the name, not the noun, and I gave up. That was the first time I ever rage quit. If you're an English major, get out of here. You're done.
Your ears are twitching.
I just hate English majors, okay? They make fun of me with the way I talk.
Well, this is where we say, grow up.
All right.
By the way, I would assume that Janet from the last story is probably an English major.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's why she's so miserable.
Well, and that's why she also wrote 3 pages worth of her feelings.
Oh my goodness.
I bet you anything there wasn't a grammatical error in sight.
For our last cup of tea for this episode is Space Anime Princess is ruining my game.
Ah.
She must be an English major. Good day, Reddit. I find myself rather perplexed by a situation and would greatly appreciate some advice. My blood, I confess, is at something of a rolling boil, but I shall strive to keep this account fair and factual. At present, I am part of an online Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and it is, without exaggeration, the finest campaign of my life. I am enjoying it immensely, particularly.
They make fun of me with the way I talk.
Especially.
There we go. I am enjoying it immensely, especially as my previous long-running campaign ended in a manner that left me somewhat traumatized. My new Dungeon Master, highly recommended, has delivered sessions of the most excellent quality, splendid storytelling, balanced spotlight, the whole works. And then one day, matters changed. When one of the players asked if his wife might join, she had, so we were told, been bullied out of another game.
She was an English major.
She was. Being decent sorts, we agreed. Later, we discovered she had been bullied out of several campaigns with different groups. Red flag number 1. Her very first action was to demand that her paladin character be a literal anime space princess, and she refused any pleadings to the contrary, even though the rest of us were a ragtag band of homeless scavengers. She would not budge, and the DM compromised by making her the illegitimate daughter of an emperor. Not yet fully confirmed, but sufficient to keep her content. Red flag number 2. After a sport of traveling, she began to subtly reshape other players' characters to fit in her narrative, disguising it with backhanded compliments. For example, my word, your autonome was far less annoying this time. Do keep it up. My poor autonome monk was not the only recipient of such remarks. She made similar comments towards our sweet elf warlock, and even towards several NPCs. She even began referring to 2 players, including her husband, as my simps.
Oh my.
Yes. Then, during one combat, she threw an outright fit when the DM struck her 21 AC anime princess paladin several times. This isn't fair. Roll publicly. I don't trust your rolls, she exclaimed. We were taken aback and once again attempted to reason with her. She then declared she was being bullied yet again, before finally calming down. By this time, my warlock friend and I had already approached the DM to discuss how uncomfortable she was making us. He said he would have a word with her, and indeed, for the following session, all seemed peaceful. We dared to hope it all had borne fruit, but then, a week ago, came the breaking point. The princess multi-classed into warlock. The DM suggested a Patreon and made it crystal clear, both directly and indirectly through NPCs, that this Patreon was evil, would corrupt her, and might exploit her royal bloodline for its own ends. She agreed, enticed by the promise of ascension to the throne. We all thought, splendid! At last, her anime paladin will have a fascinating arc! Yet, when the DM role-played her character's growing bloodlust, exactly as forewarned, the princess was aghast. She was outraged. She insisted her character would never, ever feel such dark urges. After the session, during our scheduled feedback time, she declared she had a joint complaint against the DM. And what, you may ask, constitutes a joint complaint when no one in the party was involved?
Yes.
It transpired she had complained to her out-of-game friends, people with no knowledge whatsoever of our campaign. They accused the DM of stripping her agency and claimed there had been a lack of wisdom saves to resist the urges. She then gleefully screenshotted their nasty little messages and sent them directly to the DM's private messages, where they mocked him and questioned his competence. I am still positively fuming at the thought. Seeing our DM, a kind and talented gentleman, shaken to his core, is heartbreaking. I, in turn, lost my composure. I told the princess in no uncertain terms that her behavior was grossly unfair, highly unethical, and a flagrant violation of trust. If she did not trust the DM, she ought to find one she did trust, rather than attempting to walk all over my favorite DM. At that, she abruptly left the session, and I spent some 20 minutes consulting our sweet DM. Now, here lies the difficulty. The DM has let it slip that he still wishes to continue playing with her, as there are only a couple of sessions remaining, and he wants to complete her arc. I also suspect he fears her husband may leave with her, and he's indeed a valuable player with a wonderful and important character. I adore this campaign and the storytelling, but the princess's behavior is spoiling the experience for me, my friends, and our poor DM alike. How, then, do I support my DM without enabling her? How can we protect his mental health if she remains? I do not wish to pressure him into removing her, yet continuing as things stand simply dreadful. Edit. Based on some comments, I should make this clear. I am female, and so is my warlock friend. We are not a pair of blokes gatekeeping the sacred masculine world of D&D by ousting a woman. Ha! Preposterous. First off, why was she playing a paladin when she was obviously delivering vicious mockeries to her fellow players? Number two, I am in a bewilderment about the joint complaint. First of all, rude. Second of all, how do you even feel comfortable with continuing to play in that group after showing the distasteful things you said about your DM? To the DM!
I think this character is a DM serial killer.
Or she has a crush on the DM. Remember, girls like to insult and bring down one's mental state because they like them.
No wonder the husband didn't stand up for anything.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Maybe that's because he didn't have legs, but let's continue.
Speaking of the husband.
Yes.
Lastly, Space Princess is not at fault. I have come to the conclusion that it is not her fault. In fact, the true BBG in this story is the husband. He knew that his wife was getting bullied out of D&D groups. And what did he do? He wanted her to join his group so he could bully his wife because he likes his wife. Full circle. This is amazing.
I'm sensing a little bit of Bonnie and Clyde action here with several campaigns.
It was a foolproof plan. He could do it openly and freely, and the wife would think that this is just her luck and wouldn't question it. The husband, no, the wolf was wearing sheep's clothing the entire time, and I saw right through your charade and caught you. You may hand me my noble priest pie.
They make fun of me.
Continue.
Hand me my peace prize, please.
Oh, your Nobel Peace Prize. Well, here's some water I've spit in.
No. Well, my fellow chaps, it seems like we have ran out of tea for this episode. Now, as we go and brew some more, please leave in the comments down below, what did you learn from the tea that was spilt? I have been Chap. This has been Wife of Chap.
I'm Wife of Chap.
And we shall now leave you with our goodbye.